Hey, this is Rolf Versluis with ACAP Network Systems. I'm going to talk a little bit about effective whiteboarding. And my perspective is from a sales perspective, but this can easily apply to a number of different areas in which you want to get an idea across to other folks and convince them of doing something new. So, first thing about whiteboarding is you got to get permission to whiteboard. You don't just stand up and start drawing things out and telling people what's going on. Usually this permission comes from when you're sitting around a conference table and there's something under discussion, and a lot of the people haven't fully reviewed it or don't fully understand what's going on. And during the course of the discussion you say, well, you mind if I just do a simple overview of how this works and how it will benefit you. And so a lot of times folks are open to that, and once that happens, you jump up and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. So you get permission to whiteboard first. Next thing that's important is that you need to use pictures more than words, and you don't use your drawing on the whiteboard to slow down the flow of your discussion. The next thing is, it leads into the actual discussion area itself. And so when you're wanting to convince folks to do something, usually you have a situation where something is already working, and then you want to make it better, and then hopefully you can add some icing on the cake by, after making things better, you can be either more productive or save money. So let me give an example from my industry, the information technology industry, where we go through and replace PBXs with IP telephony. And so oftentimes we have a new proposal regarding that. So the first thing that we look at doing is creating an equivalence to what they're doing. And so and then I'll step through the other aspects of it, which is to show differences and benefits. And then the last part, which is to show productivity improvement or return on investment cost savings. So in the PBX replacement realm for IP telephony, what most people have is a private branch exchange. So it's a phone system, a business phone system. And what this does, it's a big box in this scary little phone room, and that box has a bunch of different features. So first off, it connects to the public service telephone network, the phone company, AT&T, Qwest, somebody like that. And the next thing it does is it's got wires going out to a big scary patch panel on the wall, but then it has wires running out to all the people that have phone handsets. And this lets them call each other, and it lets them call out, and it lets them call in. And so in order to accomplish that, there is a connection to the outside world, and this is a T1, so there's a card for that. And then there's some controllers that do the brains of the switching. We usually have those as redundant ones. Then we have digital line cards and analog line cards for digital phones and analog phones. Then we might have an IP card for remote management or some basic IP phones. And then we got some power supplies, usually redundant power supplies. And that's a PBX. Now you might have some add-on things like a connection to a voicemail system, which looks like a scary 10-year-old PC, or an ACD, which is an automatic call distribution if you have an inbound call center or something like that. An interactive voice response, but that's pretty much it. And every building that you have has to have its own PBX, and you have to have a service contract because these things are a little bit difficult to use, and that's what people are used to for PBXs. Now with IP telephony, we do something completely different. So the other set of wires that's in a building is the local area network. So the local area network is what all your computers are connected to. So we'll just call it a local area. Now you got to have a good local area network. If you're going to run voice over it, it's got to be secure. It's got to be got to provide power to the handsets and things like that. But first off, we have to accomplish all the same things. So we have to do equivalence. Okay, so the local area network, we can connect handsets into it. Now right now you got PCs connected into it, but what we're going to do is we're actually going to unplug the cable from the PC and put it into the phone, an IP phone, and then you're off and running. So you don't even have to run new wires in the walls in most cases. We can also connect into the public service telephone network, and we'll do that with a voice gateway. Now voice gateway is just a router with some voice cards in it, so that's pretty straightforward. And then we've got to have the controllers. So the controllers, in this case, are servers. So we have our call manager server, And that's just like an email or an application server. It goes in your data center. And we can do redundant ones for clustering, so we can have a higher level of reliability. In fact, we can build this local area network so it has a higher level of reliability than a PBX. We can do a voicemail server, we can do an ACD server, an interactive voice response server. And if we want to add other things like call recording, very easy to do. Okay, so we've replicated all the benefits, all the characteristics that you have right now. And you might say, well, so what? I got this now. Right? I mean, I can even do analog phones out of here. We're not missing anything. Well, the big benefit is that you can take this same structure for an improved voice system where you can add on capabilities quickly and you can manage it, and you can use newer, fancier phones with lots of features. You can take this to different sites of your organization. So everybody ends up being on one large phone system. And the way that you do that is most people have a wide area network. And so a wide area network is typically, you might know it as an MPLS or a Metro Ethernet network, something like that. It connects into the router, the same thing as the voice gateway. And we put a router and voice gateway at the other site, our local area network. And then we put handsets at the other network connected to the PC, just like at the main site. And these phones are controlled by the call manager application server back at the main site. So just like you wouldn't put an email server at every location in your organization, now you don't have to put a PBX at every location. So everybody's on one large phone system, 4-digit dialing, video calls if you want them, shared voicemail, all the capabilities that you might want at all the remote sites, and it's all controlled from the main site. There's some definite benefits there. Now, you could use the voice T1 and connect to the public service telephone network at the remote site. But one of the big benefits of going IP telephony is to use a new cost-saving technology that the carriers have already used for a number of years, and it's to get rid of the T1s and replace them with something called SIP trunking, which is just the delivery of voice calls in data format. So instead of bringing it in as an old format and turning it into, converting it to data, just bring it in as data in the first place. And that means that all these places where you normally have to pay for a T1 voice circuit for $700 a month and an MPLS circuit for $400 a month can now be replaced by just the data circuit. So really significant cost savings there. And then, I haven't even talked about connecting to the internet now. If you want to connect people to the internet and connect them on the phone system, anywhere you can extend your data network to, you can have your phone system operating. So if I have a firewall here, and then it goes to the internet, then people that connect over an encrypted VPN, they can have phones at their house. You can connect to mobile phones. There's all sorts of different types of things you can connect either over the internet or over internal wireless networks. Now let me step back from my customer type presentation here and say, okay, first, I got permission. I'm drawing lots of pictures. I don't erase things. Try to erase things as little as possible. When you're complete and done with this, you want a big picture that covers the entire extent of the whiteboard that people come up and take pictures of with their camera so that they can save it for later. And then you leave it there when you leave the room so people can bring back stuff and say, look at what these guys can design for us. And in a lot of cases, we don't want to tell people that this is what you should do. We just say, hey, this is what we've done for a lot of folks like yourself, and they found a lot of benefits. I encourage you to talk to them. So I'm not coming in as an expert telling them what they need to do. I'm just saying, this is what we can do. This is what we're good at doing. And it also promotes a discussion. So it goes from being, hey, I'm just giving you a high-level overview, to people starting asking questions. Like, well, do I have to replace my LAN? Well, that depends. We've done some where they just put in a new local area network and it met all the requirements of power and security and quality of service, and we run the phone system over their existing local area network. And as a whiteboarder, you don't even have to know all the answers. If you bring a technology guy with you, you just toss the conversational ball over to him or her, and then when they're done answering the question, grab it back and say, does this work? And then go ahead and wrap it up and make sure everybody's got value from it. And so you've got the permission, you've got pictures, then we've denoted an equivalence, then we've talked about differences and benefits, and then we've talked about productivity and ROI. So at the end of your whiteboard session, everybody should clearly have a good feeling that you're all on the same page and all talking from the same set of ideas. So this is a very powerful technique, and it's way better than PowerPoint because it's interactive and it shows you actually know your stuff. When you only have to know big picture from a block level diagram, you don't have to necessarily know the details of how to set up a voice gateway, for example, or anything else like this. You just need to know what it is that you're selling. And any good salesperson, whether it's internal in the organization or external, should at least know what they're selling and believe in themselves. So hopefully this was helpful to you, and go out and whiteboard and get your ideas out there and get the people sold on what you want to do.